What is going on, guys? Deathstroke here. So in today's video, it's much requested that we do a video on the SYNTHOCEPS. These things are basically like little muscly gauntlets for your Titan. So these provide increased melee lunge range, improved melee damage when surrounded. But what does that really mean for numbers? That's what we're going to test here in just a moment. Another cool thing to add is that certain shaders enable the veins to glow in the gauntlet. So New Pacific Rush is the one I chose. The veins glow and it gives the gauntlets a completely new look and makes them really look exotic. All right, moving on to the actual test. I did this in a few parts. I went down and tried to just test range. So at first I took them off. I wore my basic Phoenix Drive type and put those on for an actual test of, I was trying to get range and damage. So it was kind of difficult because I was trying to do it on the exact same enemy every single time. And roughly on acolytes from a melee, you do about 290 damage. So I was testing out the range, and as you can see here, the lunge, once you get in maybe 6 feet or so, a lot of people do the meter thing, but I just feel like the range is iffy between what you look at and what reality is. So I'll find a better way to actually depict range, but I want to do the test of, is the range worth it, and is the damage worth it, instead of using something like the Insurmountable Skull Fort that provides you health regeneration upon hit and an additional melee charge every single time you get a kill with your melee charge. Alright, so you can see right off the bat, I have a hard time because he's strafing, that the range is increased. But is it substantial? I don't believe so. I think that maybe it adds 2 to 3 feet. So if you have that guy that's been trolling you in the Crucible, he's kind of sidestepping you and making you look like a bitch, you might get him this time. I mean, you're not gonna whiff the melee, and that might be what you want. If that's what you want, then that's what you want. All right, so this test, I was trying to do and activate like the surrounded perk. I wish it would show up that says when surrounded, so you know if 2 enemies is enough. But you could see I do 579 damage when surrounded on that hit. On the other one, I did. But I should also note that there were certain times I hit acolytes and it was only doing 290 damage. And I rarely got the 579 to perk unless I was actually fully surrounded with more than 2, 3, 4 enemies, which is great if it had an area of effect, but it does not come with an area of effect. So with that being said, if this was applied to my shoulder charge and when surrounded I did more damage while shoulder charging, that might help. So we're gonna do a test on that. I also tried doing it on these thralls and getting a more focus on seeing the range right here. So you can see that I come up to this guy. I chose a Shank specifically because his movements are really slow and he doesn't move that much. So you can see the range is pretty substantial, especially for a Titan. I don't know if that same strike would have worked in Crucible, but I think that the range is actually pretty substantial. Okay, our last test is to see if the attack damage increase while surrounded is affected by your charged melee, i.e. your shoulder charge, your shield bass, etc. So I switch out, you see there, I put the Insurmountable Skull Fort on, and the reason is so when I do the test without those arms, I get my melee back and I can immediately go in and do the test again. So you can see on the first character, the first enemy, I'm definitely surrounded. I crash into 3 of them, and it does a whopping 310 damage while surrounded. I then switch out, and I go back in, and there's still 3 of them, and I do a whopping 310 damage. So it does not stack onto your actual charged melee, which is kind of unfortunate. So in my opinion, I think the Insurmountable Skull Fort is a much better value for PvE, especially because you're constantly getting your shoulder charge back. It's not a chance like Lucky Raspberry, where if you throw a grenade, you have a chance to get your grenade back. You always get your melee charge back, and you're able to keep shoulder charging and keep having fun. These are very situational to where you might get that extra lunge range, and you might get that extra damage if you're surrounded by enemies. Alright guys, I hope this helped you. If it did, drop a like, stay awesome, and until next time, Deathstroke out.